down Coulomb force, magnitude of Coulomb force. So it is Q1 Q2 divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. And we know charges on the electron and proton, that is 1.602 into 10 to the power minus 19. And as I said, the charge on electron and proton, they are same. So here Q1 and Q2 both are same. So we are taking square. And epsilon 0 is permittivity of the medium. And the value is given, that is 1 upon 36 into pi into 10 to the power minus 9. So that is what? That is the value of epsilon 0. Here we are assuming that the electron and proton, they are, the medium is air. So we are considering epsilon 0. So the value that is given of epsilon 0 is, it is in air. So, you can see the Coulomb force, you can roughly calculate, it is 2.3 into 10 to the power minus 8 Newton. So this is the force between electron and proton. And since they are opposite, both are opposite, charge on electron and proton, they are opposite. So this force is attractive. Similarly, now let us consider gravitational force. So here gravitational force equation, you can see capital G into me, that is mass of electron, mp, that is mass of proton, divided by r square. And G is a universal constant. The value of G is given, that is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11. And mass of electron, it is 9.11 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. And we know that the proton is heavier than electron, and the mass of proton is, it is approximately, almost 1836 times heavier than that of electron. So if you calculate this force, which is gravitational force is because of the mass of the object, and it is always attractive. And you can see, approximately this value turns out to be 1.02 into 10 to the power minus 47 Newton. Now you can see the Coulomb force between two charges and Coulomb force between, gravitational force between electron and proton. So values are in front of you. Now if you find out ratio, that is Coulomb force divided by gravitational force, and you can see that it is almost, Coulomb force is 10 to the power 39 times stronger than gravitational force. So now you can imagine that how strong is Coulomb force compared to gravitational force. And this is also, this is the main reason why the chemical bonds are so strong, because the chemical bonds are formed because of, these chemical bonds are due to Coulomb attraction, because of the different types of charges. So from this example, you can easily realize that the Coulomb force is very, very strong force, compared to gravitational force, right? So here we have seen two fundamental forces. One is electric force, and another one is gravitational force. There are two other fundamental forces. One is nuclear force, that is also called short range force, and another one is weak interacting force. But we won't be discussing these two forces here. Now let us consider electrostatic fields. So suppose, we know that Coulomb force is vector quantity, and the force on unit charge is defined as electric field. So electric field is also vector quantity. So you can find out total electric field by taking, suppose you have n different charges distributed in the space, and you want to find out total electric field. So you can, write down sum. This sum is not a simple sum, but it is a vector sum. So it will be clear to you once. Here another example. Here we will considering. So consider three charges as given in the diagram. We have three charges, Q1, Q2 and Q3, and we want to find out what is electric field at point P because of these three charges. And these three charges, Q1 is 1 coulomb, Q2 is 2 coulomb, and Q3 is minus 3 coulomb. So you can compute. You can compute electric field separately at point P because of these charges. You can compute Q1. It is trivial. First you find out what is distance between Q1 and P, right? Then one can calculate electric field due to Q1. Then similarly you can proceed for Q2 and Q3. Now this is the result. So total electric field at point P is because of Q1, Q2 and Q3. Now you can see here this sum is vector summation, and the direction of electric field, you can see these are the directions of electric field. You can see that one is along y-axis. It is the electric field produced due to charge Q2. Then another one is horizontal component. You can see horizontal component, you can easily see this. So that is because of charge Q3. And another one is, you can see this, which is neither along y-axis nor along x-axis. It is in between y-axis and x-axis. It is in the intermediate direction. So that is the electric field because of charge Q1, right? And if you carry out the sum of if you want to find out total electric field, then you can see the total electric field is given by this last equation, gives you the total electric field, right? So their ux and uy, they are nothing but they are unit vectors along x-axis as well as along y-axis. So this is the problem. There we computed the resultant electric field. So you can see here that the electric field is, it is vector quantity. So when we consider summation, so one has to consider magnitudes as well as direction while computing the vector quantities, while adding the vector quantities. Now consider volume charge density, surface charge density and linear charge density. Suppose your charge is distributed along a line, then you can say you can consider linear charge density. Suppose your charge is distributed on a plane, then one has to consider surface charge density, and another one is a volume charge density. So here in volume charge density, the charge is distributed over a volume. So from these three different charge densities, one can compute the electric field. So this is the equation. When we consider discrete charges, then you can see in the previous example, the total electric field, the equation for total electric field was written as sum over n. But here we are considering continuous charge distribution. So we are replacing summation symbol by integration. So the integration of electric field is given. So electric field is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon, and integration is over volume. Here we are considering volume charge density, but you can, I mean, instead of volume, suppose if you are talking about linear charge density, then you have to consider rho L, right? And you can see these charge densities, linear, surface and volume, they are dimensionally different. You can see the dimension of volume charge density is Coulomb per meter cube, then that of surface charge density is Coulomb per meter square, and that of linear charge density is Coulomb per meter. Now consider, now we will carry on electric field by continuous charge distribution. So consider linear charge density. So here you can see a line is given along which the charges are distributed over a line. So and we want to find out electric field because of this charge distribution. Then what one has to do? So let us consider small segment of this charge distribution. Now you can see this charge distribution is not linear one. Okay, it is not distributed on a straight line. So it is, I mean, you can I mean say it is a curve kind of thing. But in order to calculate electric field, here we are considering small segment. So this delta L1 that is given in the PowerPoint presentation. So delta L1 is nothing but it is small segment, and this small segment you can see it is, we can treat this small segment linear one, and the charge on this small segment is delta Q, and we want to find out electric field at point P. So this and you can see this point P is it is say r distance away from the origin O. So now from the figure it is very clear that, I mean, what is our aim? We want to find out electric field at point P, which is at r distance from the origin O, and we are considering small segment delta L1, and the charge on that small segment is delta Q, and this small segment is say Ri distance away from the origin. And so you can see the distance from R to P, I mean this small segment to P is, you can I mean write down R minus Ri. So we can write down electric field. So you can divide this whole line into small segments, and then you compute electric field due to each segment separately. Once you have electric field due to each segment, then what one has to do? You simply take summation, and of course this summation is vector summation. So here and we are thinking of I mean infinite number of these small segments. So here we are summing from I equal to 1 to infinity. And so one can write down this rho L into delta Li. So that is nothing but delta Q, because rho L is the charge per unit length, and you can see 4 pi epsilon 0 is a constant, and here we are dividing by r cube, and we are multiplying with position vector that is from segment delta Li to P. And then similarly you can also write down, you can also find out electric field due to volume charge density. So it is given by, I mean one has to replace then volume integral, instead of carrying out line integral, one has to take volume integration, and also one has to consider volume charge density. Now we will be considering Gauss law. Now what is Gauss law? So you can see integration of E dot ds, it is also called electric flux. So electric flux, and here we are considering you can see the round symbol over the integration, which suggests that here we are talking about surface integral, and the surface which we are considering, it is closed surface. So for an example, you can think of a balloon, and we are carrying integration over the balloon. So the surface of balloon is closed one, right? And we are calculating the flux passing through the closed surface, and that is equal to, you can write down, Q divided by epsilon 0. Now what is this capital Q? So capital Q is the charge enclosed within that balloon, you can say, or the closed surface, you can say, divided by epsilon 0. So this law is called Gauss law. Now what is use of Gauss law? We started with Coulomb's law, and Coulomb's law, using Coulomb's law, one can find out electric field. Similarly, using Gauss law also, one can find out electric field. But the difference is Gauss law is more fundamental than the Coulomb's law. But if you consider a static case, then Coulomb's law, one can use Coulomb's law without any hesitation. And Gauss's law is useful whenever suppose you are considering a problem, and in that problem, whatever the charge we are considering, that charge is having certain symmetry. Then in that case, Gauss law is easy to evaluate the electric field. So we can write down, same equation we can write down in terms of volume charge density. So total charge we can write down as a volume integral, that is rho v dv divided by epsilon 0, and these two things are equal. We have written Q is equal to volume integration rho v dv. Now this is divergence theorem. Now what divergence theorem says, that you can, if you have surface integral, so you can write down volume integral, right? So divergence theorem relates surface integral to volume integral, and you can see the advantage of divergence theorem, that in divergence theorem, if you consider